Hi, this is Scott. I'm going to walk through the differences that I want to see if we can fix. So I have FF Insights on the top, 538 on the bottom, and I'm just going to go top down desktop on this video, and we'll do the mobile on the another video. So first off, I'd like to see if we can get the add at the top, same dimensions if possible. Next, I'd really like to mimic the fonts on here. When I go in, it seems as though there's only one font and you can either make it bold or italicized. I'd like to be able to change the font, and I'd really like to mimic these instead of that. The next, if I click on the search bar, it brings it down, drops this out. I'd really like to make this more simple and behave like the one on the bottom. So you see when I click on this one, it just opens it right there. It doesn't move anything on the screen. Also the logo, I like to have an option to put a logo on here. This directs to another site. That doesn't need to happen. I just would like a logo period. And the logo could go in the same orientation this one is, if possible. Let's go a little further down. Actually, this here is a little more narrow than the one below. The two things I'd really like beyond the fonts is to have this same layout. So you see the time of posting is here. That's not necessarily the date is good, but I'd like to get it in the same orientation where the date's on top, separated. It doesn't necessarily have to be the date on top. I just want it separated from the line, so you can see on this one, it's not hard spaced. I like that hard return, so it's never on the same line, preferably on the top, and preferably abbreviated. So September would just be SEPT instead, and maybe a smaller font, because the goal is to look kind of like this, because that's phased out. It's not as prominent as the title. All right, let's scroll down a little bit to here. Actually, as far as this being more narrow than this, if we bring out our handy little Caterpillar book, these are aligned top to bottom. You can see that this edge of this image here is not lining up with the edge of the one on the top. So the start of the little divider line, this little divider line here, we want to try to line those up. So you can see, and there's actually not a divider line on the top one. It would be nice if we could, try to get the divider everywhere, but mainly we got to get the spacing. So you see the divider over here does line up pretty nicely. So it's this inside one. So we need to move this over just a little bit to give this thing a little bit more width. These over here, so these sections need to be pictures essentially that you can click on that'll take you to the articles. So I was going to have some image like a plot that's in these and just put a version of it here. So this would just be like a JPEG. So it'll either be a JPEG that is, you click on this and it takes you to an article, or it would be an advertisement. So we want to have both the advertisement on the top bar, as well as having the ability to put a JPEG of an active ad on the right. I think there's an example somewhere in here. That doesn't look like there's one right now, but it would just be some JPEG or a video. Like that's a video. So it's a JPEG or a video that I could put over here. And if I could vary the height, that would actually, it would be nice to know how to do that. All right, let's go down. The baby is angry. We want to try to match the content that's here. So you see, it puts the category on top, title, and then the by. Same thing we'd like to mimic here. I don't necessarily care about the comments part, but if it's there, that's fine. And you notice that the text is not on this one, and it is here. So if we can try to match that. This is fairly close. It's close on the desktop version, but not on mobile. But overall, it's pretty close. I don't know if I'd like to know how to change the text that's here. It doesn't necessarily have to be done now, but I'd like to know how to change it because I don't want to necessarily older, just say other articles maybe instead of that. So other articles. But this is pretty close, but I still would like to match the font. And I think once this is moved over, it might make the image a little smaller. So if we do this, this actually might be moved over from the image it's above. So just like to try to mimic the sizing as much as possible. So you see it's this image on the bottom is shifted over a little bit to the right. So there's a little bit more of a gap between the font, the text right here, and the image. This all stories. So what I was talking about earlier is I like to make it so these articles, when you put them here, I like to be able to tag the category type as these are articles. So if I exit for articles, they would only go in this section here. And if I post them as a different category, maybe like posts, they would only go here. And as you can see right now, what's the impact of PPR is here. It's over here. If I go down to the bottom, it's here. So I would like it to only go into the one spot I designate. And I assume there's a way to tell it if it's the highlighted article that it does not go in the section below. And right now you've got the same article here as you have here. So it's very redundant. I would like to make it so you just, if it's highlighted, it's not in the feed below. So these are articles, these are posts, these are JPEGs or videos. You click on them. If it's a picture, it would go to the article I would put in the URL associated with the picture. And if it's a video, it's just a link to a video. And I would love to know how to make it so I don't have to necessarily fit to this size. Let's see what's below. These I was just going to have as random articles. So they weren't going to be fantasy football related. They were just going to be other things that I decided to make an article on. So maybe just instead of more stories, it would just be non-fantasy football focus or something. Just something. More stories is actually fine. And just so I can change that if I want to later would be good. And also, how do I match up the sizing of these so it's consistent? Is that just something I need to make sure the resolution of the image is the same for all of them? So clearly these two are right and this one's wrong. That might be something I can just do independently. Let's go down a little further. So you see we have the summaries here. Again, we don't want that. We just want like whatever the category happens to be, title, and then the by. So it's kind of similar, but not really. So we really still want to match what is given as content there. I assume these are videos that I can post to YouTube. And can we take off the indicator? So that's on this one too. I would just want to post a video here and get rid of this. So whatever video I have there is the one that shows up. We can worry about the bottom later. Let's look at an article. So you see on the top, we're definitely quite a bit different on the format here, with the font type and the layout. So same thing, can we just try to match that? And you see the Facebook, Twitter, email, you have that and it's perfect, but it's in the wrong spot. I do like this more subtle thing where it just kind of highlights like these here versus the twirl that's on these. So if you're able to make this one, I would prefer that and it be at the top. Again, with the font, the only thing I see in the developer is this font only, given the option to make it italics or bold. So if there's any way that I'm just missing it, please point that out to me, because I would like to have other font types available. This was really cool that I was able to put in the Tableau dashboards, and it is working just fine. I made it 760 width, and that seems to work just fine. Let's see what else I had on here. Right here, if we can have 2 spaces before Facebook comments start, that would be preferred. But overall, this one's in pretty decent shape for the article section. The last thing is up here on the side. You can see that the dates, it's fine if the dates are on here. I just don't want, it would be preferred actually if the dates aren't there. But if you are going to have the dates there, we want to have that hard space, so it's on a different line. All right, I think that's it for the desktop. So I'm going to stop with that for now, and we'll post this sucker.